Hey fam, welcome. I'm super glad you found your way here. I'm excited to take you on a journey through one of the most raw, unfiltered beginnings in hip-hop. The early life of Lil Durk, the pressures, the dreams, the hardship, and how music echoed through it all. Let me start by saying, what you're about to read isn't just a biography. It's a voyage through upbringing, struggle, aspiration, and the moment when the mic became more than sound. It became purpose. I invite you in. Imagine yourself in those early Chicago streets, hearing a young boy hum, rap, and compete with everything he had. Lil Durk was born Dirk Derrick Banks on October 19th, 1992, deep in the heart of Chicago, in a neighborhood on the city's south side called Englewood. From the jump, life demanded responsibility. His father was incarcerated when Durk was only a few months old, barely 7 months old. That absence left a void, but also forced Durk to grow fast. His mother did what she could, but the echoes of poverty, hunger, and uncertainty were real. Even as a kid, Durk knew what it meant to hustle. And though there's no verified record that he competed in formal singing competitions as a child, what he did was more raw. He competed with life itself. He would recite, rap, hum, verbalize, test his voice in whatever space he had. School halls, block corners, on porches, on the phone perhaps. The struggle and the voice became inseparable. Picture a teenage Durk, maybe 13 or 14, in a cramped Chicago home, no guarantee of food, maybe times when there wasn't a full plate. He's got dreams. He's got something inside him that says there's more than this. He turns to music. He experiments with rhymes and melodies. He likely imitates what he hears on radio and local streets. Every lyric, every attempt is like stepping into a contest, against fear, against limitation, against silence. As he grew, he tried to find an outlet online. Social media, YouTube, MySpace, places where his voice could reach beyond the block. His early digital footprints gave him a taste of what it might feel like to break out. In those early uploads, maybe a freestyle, maybe a raw track, people would listen. The reaction, whether silence, critique, or praise, leg pressed down even more. This, he thought, could be his path. By the time he was in his mid-teens, life's pressures mounted further. At 17, he became a father. That changed things. Suddenly, ambition wasn't optional. It was imperative. He left Paul Robeson High School during his senior year. He also became involved with the Black Disciples, a street gang in Chicago's network of survival and territory. Some of that was protection, some part identity, some part circumstance. But music was his North Star. Then came legal troubles. In 2011, he was charged for possession of a firearm with a defaced serial number. He served time. The streets and the law now loomed large, but the music became his voice of resistance. It wasn't just about self-expression, it was survival. In those crucible years, Durk dropped mixtapes. In August 2011, he released I'm a Hitter. Then in April 2012, I'm Still a Hitter followed. Then later in 2012 came Life Ain't No Joke. That same December, L's anthem released and made waves. He turned raw passion into tracks people listened to. From the block to the speakers, his voice was growing. Every track was a contest, every bar a challenge dared to fate. The streets and the studio were arenas. He leaned on collaborators, Lil Reese, Chief Keef, Fredo Santana, voices from his city that echoed his hunger. By 2013, he landed a joint venture with Def Jam via his collective Only the Family OTF. He was stepping beyond local competitor and becoming a national contender. Now, you might wonder, where were the actual singing contests? If by singing competitions you meant formal stage battles, local events, school shows, I couldn't find any credible record documenting that kind of structured competition in Lil Durk's real childhood. His competition was more informal, more elemental. Voice versus silence, survival versus surrender. His early battles were internal and external, but what he did do, He pushed boundaries, uploaded, freestyled, recorded, challenged himself, learned from mistakes, built his voice. He made contests of the day-to-day. Every beat, every rhyme, every upload was a new round. He faced critics, haters, doubters, and still he persisted. He uploaded tracks again, refined style, built buzz. In 2013, his mixtape, Signed to the Streets, made major waves, and his next mixtape, Signed to the Streets 2, followed in 2014. By 2014, he was listed in XXL's freshman class, a major nod that he'd arrived on the national radar. Let's pause for a second. I want you to imagine being young Durk for a moment. You're 16, the weight of hunger in your bones, dreams burning in your chest, no guarantee of tomorrow. But you have a voice. You hum in your room, you rehearse in your head. You maybe record snippets on your phone, post to MySpace, hope someone listens. You're in competition, not just with others, but with your doubt. You dare to dream that your voice can transcend your block. Here's a question for you. If you were him, would you keep pushing when the world around you seemed stacked against you? Because he did. He pushed. In those years, he leaned into melody, into deathless emotion, into stories people felt. He married tones of pain and hope. That is part of what distinguished him. While many rappers leaned pure grit, Durk wove in emotion, vulnerability. The street and the heart coexisted in his voice. As his buzz grew, so did the stakes. Losses happened. His manager, Uchenna Chino Dollar Agina, was killed. The legal system loomed. Personal tragedy, street violence, all shadows that chased him. But through the noise, the mic became his shield, his outlet, his proof. I tell you this because your journey, whatever path you're heading, isn't so different from his in spirit. What do you risk when you refuse to be silent? What voice lives inside you, waiting? How many nights will you grind, stumble, get up, try again? Now, I want you to picture this. You hit play on one of those old Durk mixtapes, raw bits mixed with untamed emotion. That track, that moment, changes your perception. Maybe one line hits you deep. Maybe you rewind, replay it, think, he said that? He dared that. That is what happens when the young voice makes it out. Today, Lil Durk is a platinum-selling, Grammy-nominated artist. His albums Remember My Name, Lil Durk 2X 7220, The Voice and his joint project with Lil Baby. The voice of the heroes testified to how far he's come, but none of that erases the early fights. None of that erases nights where the studio was quiet, the block loud, and the dream felt far. So this channel, this space you're in now, I want to use it for voices. I want to spotlight the early stories, the untold nights, the interviews, the underground legends, the raw beginnings. Because not all origin stories are documented, but they matter. The voice before fame matters. Tell me, what moment in your life feels like that early Durk moment? When did you first feel your voice could speak louder than your situation? Drop it in the comments. I want to read your story. If you're excited for more deep dives, untold journeys, behind-the-scenes stories like this, tap that subscribe button now. Join the family. Ring that bell so you get every drop. And if this story moved you or made you think, leave a comment. Your voice matters. Let's build this together. You're still here. That means the story hit somewhere, didn't it? There's something about hearing where someone came from, something about tracing the footsteps of a person who fought their way from the bottom until the world finally heard their sound. Lil Durk's story doesn't stop at the come-up. In fact, this next part is where his voice starts echoing through every corner of hip-hop culture. When we left off, Durk had started making real noise. Signed to the Streets wasn't just a mixtape, it was a statement. Every verse felt lived in, soaked with memory. Every bar was competition. But not against other rappers, against his own past. Think about that for a second. How do you keep pushing when every song reminds you of what you escaped? By the time 2014 hit, Durk wasn't just recording, he was being recognized. XL put him on their freshman class list that year, a huge nod to his grind. It wasn't luck. It was the result of years of late nights, small studios, and battles with doubt. The same kid who once battled silence was now battling for the top. But fame doesn't erase pain, sometimes it amplifies it. The streets that raised him still whispered, still claimed names, still cost lives. You can hear that tug of war in his 2015 debut album, Remember My Name. It's haunting, emotional, fierce, an artist trying to balance fame and loyalty, ambition and survival. And maybe that's what makes Durk different. He never ran from where he came from. He brought it with him, shaped it into sound, and used it as a mirror for the world to see. Now let's make it personal for a second. When was the last time you turned your struggle into art, or even into motivation? Maybe it's a song, a story, a dream, or something quiet that no one else sees yet. What if, like Durk, your challenges were actually your training ground? What if every loss was a verse in your own song? Durk's next few years were filled with both growth and grief. He lost close friends, King Von being one of the most painful blows. He's spoken about that loss in interviews, how it shifted him, matured him, broke him a little, but also made him sharper. Life forced him to balance emotion and endurance, and the music reflected that balance perfectly. Then came The Voice, not just an album title, but a declaration. He wasn't just another artist from Chicago, he was the voice for those who didn't have one. He turned pain into melody, truth into rhythm. The same emotion that once made him vulnerable now made him unstoppable. And maybe that's the takeaway here. Lil Durk's story isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about showing up when no one claps, creating when no one listens, and believing when no one believes. That's how competition really works. Not on stage, not on paper, but in the heart. You versus yesterday's version of you. I want you to think about this. If life handed you Durk's circumstances, the absence, the hunger, the loss, do you think you'd still chase your dream? Be honest, because the answer says a lot about who you are becoming. Durk didn't have all the tools, but he used what he had: a voice, a dream, a will. Fast forward to now, Lil Durk is collaborating with giants, from Drake to Morgan Wallen, proving his versatility. He's evolved beyond drill music into melody-driven storytelling. But even now, listen closely to any of his new tracks, and you'll still hear that kid from Englewood. The same hunger, the same rhythm of survival. That's why this story hits differently, because it's not just about hip-hop, it's about life, growth, and the voice inside all of us that refuses to quit. And here's where I want you to step in. Tell me, what's your version of Signed to the Streets? What's your project, your hustle, your creation that represents everything you fought through? Drop it in the comments below. I'll be reading, and maybe in our next episode, I'll shout out some of your stories. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button right now. Not just because it helps the channel grow, but because this space is built for you. For dreamers, for grinders, for people who feel that fire. Ring the bell so you never miss a story, a voice, a truth. Because this isn't the end. It's just another verse in the story. Welcome to American Artists Files, where every voice gets heard.